This episode is sponsored in part by LaunchDarkly. Take a look at what it takes to get your code into production. I'm going to just guess that it's awful because it's always awful. No one loves their deployment process. What if launching new features didn't require you to do a full-on code and possibly infrastructure deploy? What if you could test on a small subset of users and then roll it back immediately if results aren't what you expect? LaunchDarkly does exactly this. To learn more, visit launchdarkly.com and tell them Corey sent you and watch for the wince. Good morning, AWS, and welcome to the AWS Morning Brief. I'm cloud economist Corey Quinn, and I am pleased to report to you that my reQuinvent virtual extravaganza is back for reInvent 2021 in glorious fashion. This year's tagline is, "It's like reInvent, except, good." To learn more, and particularly if you wish to sponsor it, please visit reQuinvent.com. That's REQUINN vent.com. Now let's see what AWS got up to last week. Amazon CloudWatch Application Insights and AWS Systems Manager Application Manager combine to form an integrated application management experience. I have to say that integrating Amazon CloudWatch Application Insights and AWS Systems Manager Application Manager is a new strategy by AWS Marketing, making it harder for me to mock their releases because they won't fit in a tweet. Amazon EC2 Hibernation adds support for Red Hat Enterprise Linux 8, CentOS 8, and Fedora 34. EC2 Hibernation is, of course, the long period between reInvents without meaningful announcements about the single biggest AWS spend category globally. Amazon EC2 announces increases for instance network bandwidth. Maybe I'm too cynical, but the bandwidth increases are purely from EC2 instances to things that charge a per gigabyte data transfer fee. Amazon S3 multi-region access points accelerate access to replicated data sets by up to 60%. Look, I played with these things last week. Unfortunately, AWS's narrative focuses more on latency than the very viable use case of increased reliability by going multi-region. AWS Launch Wizard now supports SAP deployment from accounts using AWS Managed Services. I put on my robe and Amazon Launch Wizard hat. AWS Managed Services, AMS, now offers a catalog of operational offerings with operations on demand. AWS's We Manage It For You offering sure does put an awful lot of management work back on you in turn. AWS Marketplace launches aliases for all single AMI products. AWS Marketplace gains versioning wisdom that other systems had figured out decades ago. AWS Systems Manager Change Calendar now supports third-party calendar imports, giving you a more holistic view of events. I got to admit, this was not the service I was expecting/hoping to get Google Calendar integration. Ability to customize reverse DNS for Elastic IP addresses now available in additional regions for virtual private cloud customers. I somehow missed that EIPs let you set reverse DNS, which means that I'm about to start being passive-aggressive in whole new ways via my AWS account. How AWS partners can help you sleep well with a strong zero-trust strategy for remote work. That's right, they're going to bore you to death until you fall asleep with the 80-slide PowerPoint decks you must sit through before they'll quote you a price. Honestly, these presentations are better than white noise machines. Amazon EKS AnyVMware, now generally available to create and manage Kubernetes clusters on premises. EKS AnyVMware, but really only on VMware right now, has been released. It requires a $24,000 payment for enterprise support on top of the usual AWS enterprise support fee, you to pay VMware's fee, and you to decide that the best way to run Kubernetes in places that aren't AWS is to go through AWS to do it. This is very clearly not for me, so I'm going to leave opining on this thing to the folks for whom it was built. How to attribute Amazon Redshift costs to your end users. You're about to learn really quickly that blameless retro culture has not extended as far as your finance team. Implement anti-money laundering solutions on AWS. Apparently, AWS is banning cryptocurrency exchanges from being customers. Note, that is a joke. Please do not email me with your hot cryptocurrency takes, as I do not care. using the Amazon Chime SDK to create automated outbound call notifications. This is a genius idea that is truly revolutionary. When an outbound call is placed, what if the recipient's phone made a noise to alert them that someone was attempting to reach them? New release, AWS Digital Banking Microsite. Because the microsite is designed for banks, it of course requires Internet Explorer to work. The development of Bundesliga Match Fact Passing Profile, a deep dive into passing in football. Introducing AWS Systems Manager Bundesliga Match Fact Passing Profile in public preview. You know they're acquiring it just for the name. This episode is sponsored in part by our friends at Chaos Search. You could run Elasticsearch or Elastic Cloud or OpenSearch as they're calling it now, or a self-hosted Elk stack. But why? Chaos Search gives you the same API you've come to know and tolerate, along with unlimited data retention and no data movement. Just throw your data into S3 and proceed from there as you would expect. This is great for IT operations folks, for app performance monitoring, cybersecurity. If you're using Elasticsearch, consider not running Elasticsearch. They're also available now in the AWS Marketplace if you'd prefer not to go direct and have half of whatever you pay them count toward your EDP commitment. Discover what companies like Klarna, Equifax, Armor Security, and Blackboard already have. To learn more, visit chaossearch.io and tell them I sent you just so you can see them facepalm yet again. Boost transcription accuracy of class lectures with custom language models for Amazon Transcribe. Awesome! I can't wait to see the custom language module that works for my old bio teacher, who spoke in a very particular dialect of mumbling into their notes. AWS Artist Series, rigging the bridge for Spanner. All of the AWS Artist Series posts are beautiful, but this one also confusingly mentions a Google product in its title. I suppose Google Spanner is art in its own right. Discovery Plus uses Amazon Personalized to combat decision fatigue. The first paragraph of this release includes the sentence, "The company found that too many choices can become overwhelming and can take away from the viewer experience." I, of course, don't have to tell you that the company in question is absolutely not Amazon Web Services. My God, can you imagine? Guest post. Electronic Arts modernizes data storage on Amazon S3. EA adores using S3 because of their every request to the service costs fractions of a penny billing model. Also, I want a guest post. Amateur radio meets edge computing to keep disaster response teams connected. My AWS hobby and my amateur radio hobby combine for disaster response, which is a noble enough purpose that it doesn't let me also engage my snark hobby for the hat trick. It's back. Register for the in-person AWS Summit in Washington, D.C., which looks like it's going to be a canary for in-person reInvent. Let's hope that people remain safe. Transporting people and freight more efficiently with cloud-based technologies. I'm going to be pretty pissed if I click this link and discover that the people and freight transporting cloud technology isn't a Zeppelin. Bendigo and Adelaide Bank in Australia unleashes its AWS Skills Guild. Unleashes and bank are two words you don't often see juxtaposed. Bank and guild sure are, though. That one's for you, my D&D friends. And finally, maximize your preparation for AWS certification with our new exam guides. If AWS certification was more customer-focused and less revenue-focused, the true way to maximize preparation for the certification would simply be use AWS. And that's what happened last week in AWS. I'm cloud economist Corey Quinn, and this is the AWS Morning Brief.
This has been a Humble Pod production. Stay humble.